Joe, are the alarms still sounding?
7:30. The reports indicate that those bombers in the Caspian Sea have now launched their missiles 1 hour until approach. And what do you do with that hour? Russia, of course, will claim that this is a response to the West saying they will send more tanks because they don't want the West to send more tanks and they want to keep people afraid. But Russia's only goal is to take over and destroy Ukraine.
Russia fired waves of missiles all morning and hit Kyiv. Let's go live to Joseph Lindsley and find out what's going on right now. Joe, are the alarms still sounding?
Bob, no. Good afternoon. The alarms have paused. We had two sets of alarms today. Last night, well, actually, it started last night, just before midnight. Friends in Dnipro wrote to me saying there were explosions rocking the city. Windows were rattling in the city center. And then for the next few hours, in the early morning, about 1 o'clock in the morning, we had reports of Iranian drones approaching Kyiv and Dnipro. Kyiv and much of central Ukraine were under alarm until 4 a.m., but it seems that the air defense worked through the night. And then at 6:30 this morning, new alarms in central and eastern Ukraine. At 7 o'clock this morning, word spreads that rockets are approaching. 7:24, we heard that Russian bombers are now in launch position over the Caspian Sea, more than 1,500 miles away from Ukraine. 7:30, the reports indicate that those bombers in the Caspian Sea have now launched their missiles 1 hour until approach. And what do you do with that hour? In this case, I made sure, you charge your devices, you open the window to listen, you make coffee while you still have power, you have your go bag ready, and then you get back to work. 8 o'clock in the morning in Kyiv, Odessa, and other cities, the authorities cut power preemptively in anticipation of an attack in order to protect the grid. At 4 minutes later, 8:04, the reports indicate that the wave of missiles will now hit within the next 20 minutes. 20 minutes, tick-tock. Again, what do you do? I put on some music, but quietly enough so I could still hear if there's any missile activity outside. 8:17, the reports indicate that missiles are now seen entering Ukrainian airspace. At that point, you batten the hatches, here it comes. And the next 2 hours, there were reports of air defense working, of missiles heading and changing course for different cities, of an aerial battle in central Ukraine, a lot of confusion, a lot of reports of explosions. Then at 10:07 this morning, Mayor Klitschko of Kyiv writes on Telegram, explosions in Kyiv, be in the shelters, unusually severe. It's a sort of a surprising message from him. 1 minute later on Twitter, people in Kyiv are reporting a very big explosion with words that I can't repeat on the radio, but saying this is maybe one of the loudest explosions they've heard. 10:19 in the south, the Russians begin an artillery strike, artillery shelling from across the Dnipro River on the city of Nikopol. 10:20, 1 minute later, a new group of Russian missiles is launched, possibly for Kyiv. 10:25, we have report of the Russian MiG taking off in Belarus, joining the A-5OU Russian surveillance aircraft that was already in the air. That MiG can carry the Kinzhal, which is a hypersonic, super-fast missile. 10:32, boom, direct hit, a ballistic missile in Kyiv, Dniprovsky district, which is the left bank of the city. It's called the Sleeping City. It's home to many tall apartment buildings. And then midday, all clear, as we try to figure out what had happened. And in the end, but it wasn't the end because it continues and the day's not even over, there was significant success this morning of the Ukrainian air defense, but the Russians had 3 major arrivals. In Kyiv, 1 person is dead and 2 are wounded, at least. Infrastructure was hit in the city of Vinnytsia and in the city of Odessa, energy infrastructure. And there was something hit in the Lviv region. We don't know what it was. And then at about 2 p.m., the alarms return in southern Ukraine, and we have reports that air defense was engaged in Mykolaiv and Odessa. And now we have a pause. And this is sort of the attack that for a while used to always happen on Mondays. But now, it's you sort of lose sense of what does a day even mean? I guess it's Thursday. I might as well call Thursday purple. The days don't have any meaning. All we know, people still feel like it's February 2022, and it's war day number 337. And then as I was thinking about that, and then through the open window, I heard people singing outside here in Lviv. And so there still is a hope continuing in the strength, but yet another massive day of strikes that could still continue, but yet with some great strong work by the Ukrainian air defense.
Unbelievable. People are singing. You put on music. I'd be climbing inside my go bag. Joe, was all this, do you think, a response to Ukraine getting tanks from the West?
That's what appears in a lot of the media headlines. But I mean, I think if we analyze it, I mean, Russia has been making these infrastructure attacks. I mean, for a while it was every Monday, and then it became almost every week. There was a period of quiet the past month. Maybe they were, resupplying. But this is pretty normal for the Russian strategy for the past few months. Russia, of course, will claim that this is a response to the West saying they will send more tanks because they don't want the West to send more tanks and they want to keep people afraid. But Russia's only goal is to take over and destroy Ukraine. And this is just the same thing they've been doing since the very beginning.
Well, Joseph, I hope it's a quieter 24 hours, so tomorrow we have time to get into those questions I have about the roots of my family there in Ukraine and in Russia, and let's pray for peace.
Thank you. After 3 days, I better have good research for you tomorrow. So.
I know you will. Take care.
Thank you, Bob.
So Lindsley, world's most interesting man.
This I find in my garden. It's piece from rocket.
Help us to win in the city war.